What's Jiggy Chicky Wikis? I'm Jay the Gray Fae, and first of all, apologies to anyone who was going to expect that Yu-Gi-Oh video that I said in the previous one. The answer is I'm not doing that. I bit off more than I can chew, and I have to concede that fact, unfortunately. So, we're going to do something a bit different. Total Drama has a lot of potential content to it, and as a result, I'm doing a what if Total Drama Island was done better? It's a great show, fantastic season. It still has a lot of flaws, and this is where we're gonna use them. We're gonna actually fix them, really. So, as per usual, we got the Killer Bass and Screaming Gophers. However, we also have this little focus bar here to talk about the characters as they come about when they need to be. For example, the team swap involving Katie and Izzy does not happen. Instead, Chris doesn't even bother trying to force them on separate teams. He just kind of lets them be on the same team. They're on the same team from the start. Don't have to worry about that squealing nonsense. And ultimately, the episode plays out the same way. Ezekiel eliminates himself by his own foolish sexism. Goodbye, Ezekiel. We hardly knew ya. If you want to know who Ezekiel voted for, he voted for DJ. Yes, I'm making that joke. I'm just making that reference. Up next, the Awake-a-thon. So, Eva still loses her MP3 player because of Heather. She still crashes out. However, the Awake-a-thon is not 3 days long now. It's 36 hours. So as a result, they still like you can't realistically expect anyone to stay up for 3 days straight. Like that takes some intense dedication or something. Like they just don't have it. So as a result, yeah, Eva crashes out because it's a much shorter time frame, and as a result, there goes Eva. Rest in peace. Rip. Goodbye. Dodgeball. The episode is identical, just down to the wire, down to the finest details. Therefore, there goes Noah. We hardly knew ya. Talent show. So now things are gonna get a little bit tricky because Heather still reads Gwen's diary because she pulls a Heather. So how Heather gets her votes is in the Awake-a-thon, she formed her alliance with Lindsay and Beth. So that's 3 votes in her favor no matter what. It's established that she bribes Owen with cake. Justin is going to be eliminated. But here's where things get a little tricky because Heather reads Gwen's diary. So as a result, on Gwen's favor, we have Cody, Lashana, Trent, and obviously Gwen all voting for Heather. Heather manages to get these 3, and let's say it's Izzy because Izzy has an established negative relationship with Justin that doesn't really ever get touched on for the most part. So Izzy is also fine voting for Justin because she's not into him. Which leaves the question of where did the last vote go? Because baseline we got 5 and 5. Except I'm pretty sure Justin voted for Beth. Justin is very shallow and disgusting and would vote for either Beth because she's considered ugly to him, or Izzy and Justin voted for each other, but because Izzy is already on Heather's side and Justin is, well, not exactly getting the support he needs to vote for Heather, or rather contributing, Justin goes away. We hardly knew ya. Good riddance. I do not like Justin. So, back to the Go Camping episode. Also stays identical. Come on. It's a junk. There. And as a result, Katie and Sadie are on the chopping block. Katie gets launched. Sorry, Katie. I like ya. I really do. But unfortunately, it just happens the same way. Phobia factor. So, Tyler is the hot button issue here. And they're struggling in this one because of everything. So, like, let's look at this real quick. Let's look. They're already down a team member. So as a result, the phobia factor is not a fair fight. The Bass are already at a disadvantage. Even if everyone else managed to get theirs done, and everyone here managed to face theirs. But yeah, no. Tyler is the hot button issue here when they're discussing the elimination. Courtney sticks up for Tyler because he has an irrational fear. Harold is on the same in the same ballpark as Courtney, understanding irrational fears. So they're kind of opposed to that in general. DJ listens because, high empathy. So and Bridget is in the same field as DJ. Jeff and Bridget are getting close here. So as a result, Jeff sides with Bridget. Duncan is the only one who doesn't really relent, but he stays on team. But as a result, Tyler gets 1 vote. And these 5 all kind of discuss who else to vote off. Same with Tyler, and ultimately Sadie is the one that gets eliminated. Because the entire episode in this instance, Sadie was still crying. She was still a mess after Katie's elimination. So the codependent duo is brought back together right away. It's not even a question here. Up next, Boney Island. Point of contention and point of focus, Beth. So Beth and Lindsay still go into the same boat as Trent because of Heather's orders. Heather has it out for Gwen for no rational reason, when she literally could have it out for Lashana for a more rational reason because they're already fighting. Cody ends up pairing off with Gwen and agrees to help Gwen get close to Trent because Cody is a fucking gentleman and can take rejection like a boss. No, seriously, Cody taking rejection like that is just excellent dweeb representation, and like I like Cody. Cody's awesome. But ultimately, the Gophers still lose, and Beth now back on Beth. Beth is on the island and she sees the item, but Heather is there, gets mean with her, slaps it out of her hand, and says that, didn't you know if we take something from this island, we'll be cursed? Beth is in a panic from this and just says she didn't know. She didn't get any of that information, and Heather gets even more snippy, and Beth says that she was in the bathroom when they were getting told about the challenge. Heather is still not nice about it, but insults her, and as a result, what still happens is the same outcome for the Gophers. Like, that totem changed nothing functionally. It just ended up a plot device more than anything. So as a result, the 2 that are on the chopping block are going to be Lindsay and Izzy, which, yeah, unfortunately. That's the voting process still goes the same, and the RCMP shows up and chases Izzy away. Now, I personally believe Izzy would have been eliminated because she gave the Bass the idea to have someone push the boat to get them to shore. The way the Bass win, they have 2 very active people right here. An indestructible Klutz and DJ, a living brick house. So what happens is Tyler pushes the two girls in their boat, and then DJ over here pushes the other three guys in their boat. And essentially it ends up being even more of a wash, because not only does DJ crash there first, Tyler still outpaces the rowing of the Gophers. And as a result, yeah, they all make it home, no problem. Tyler is probably about the same weight class as Sadie, so even if you want to say Tyler rode in the boat anyways, yeah, that's where it lands. So therefore, Izzy is eliminated, no matter how you slice it. Paintball episode. So this is where Beth starts fighting back and kind of half quits the alliance. She doesn't even like Heather. And the episode functionally doesn't change. Tyler does end up taking Sadie's place in the challenge, but ultimately there isn't much of a change here. So as a result, the Gophers still lose. But unfortunately for Cody, he got attacked by a bear. They want to eliminate Heather, but Owen puts it best. Cody's not too useful for challenges anymore. But in this instance, Cody does not get pushed into the lake on accident. He just gets picked up by the boat safely. We do not need to kick him while he's down. I get it's mean humor and everything, but no, we don't need to worry about that. Cooking episode. So teams are roughly the same as before. Tyler replaces Sadie's role with whatever Sadie was doing, which was almost nothing in this case, unfortunately. Heather gets locked in the freezer. She later comes out. But ultimately what happens is, with Heather in charge, coming back and all that, Jeff is also head chef on his team, but they're doing solid. So we don't have to worry about the bass. They're functional. But Heather still makes the same screw up that she has Owen guard the food. Owen has an eating disorder that causes him to compulsively binge eat food that's in front of him. Yes, I'm saying he has a legitimate eating disorder. I don't know what it is. Might be Prater Willie, might be something else, but ultimately, yeah, Owen has an eating disorder. And unfortunately, his compulsive eating gets him eliminated. I don't like Owen for reasons other than that, but yeah, Owen is eliminated. Now for the trust episode. So, one team member is kind of excluded from participating in this, I think. Because it's three different things that happen, but for the cliff climbing, Beth and Heather get teamed up. And, yeah. Yeah. Goes about as well as you'd think. So there goes that. Meanwhile, over here, I don't even remember who it was that was cliff climbing. I believe Courtney was involved, and no, Courtney was involved in the archery. Whatever the case, yeah, the bass still end up like, now I don't remember who won. Oh yeah, now I remember what happened. The bass screwed up, and Tyler ends up screwing up, involving his team up with Courtney. Because, again, Tyler is replacing Courtney in this, and he screws up with a lot. Unfortunately, unfortunately, Courtney is still not too merciful about this. So, Tyler gets eliminated. Sorry about that, man. Look, you at least got the fair shot that you deserved, so there's that. boot camp episode. So, um, this is basically the same as in canon, including what Harold does. I will get to that. Don't worry. This is all part of the improvement. So the Bass lose because, but because Beth manages to carry as well, by the way. But the Bass lose. Harold rigs the votes against Courtney, still, because he rolled a nat 1 on critical thinking. And therefore, yeah, there goes Courtney. For those who are wondering, I would have believed that Harold would get eliminated here because he leaves his skid marks everywhere, his skid marked underwear everywhere. Yeah. Extreme torture. So here's what we're looking at for that. It's still almost the same as in canon. So Beth is actually kind of stuck face. Beth is kind of MIA here, kind of like Owen was. Still ends up Lashana versus Jeff. DJ Duncan versus Lindsay, and frickin' Heather versus Harold. But alternatively, involving this, because we can all just put them over here. We still have the bet going on, because we still have the bet involving the poetry going on. Beth gets in on that though. She helps them learn because, well, they're being nice to her and she wants to have fun. So she decides to interview both of these two guys, and eventually she's the one that figures out, hey, it might be Harold. He's the only one we haven't asked. These two laugh, and then eventually they find out Lashana's the crush girl at Harold's elimination. Goodbye, Total Drama Island. I loved, I lost, and I saw boobies. Absolutely iconic line. Now we have a different setup here because we are looking at the brunch of disgustingness. Let's look at things a little bit here. Notice a bit of a thing here. Yeah, there's 6 girls and 4 guys. So it ends up being the last Bass versus Gophers thing. Because it's a reward challenge, the teams are evenly set up, and they can't do Battle of the Sexes here. So what happens is, because the teams are uneven, they end up putting one of the Gophers onto the Bass team for this round, just to even things out, because next week is team dissolving. Who do they select to put onto the Bass team? Beth, because it increases the drama. Beth is still not happy with Heather. Like this is the sole reason that Beth is put on a new team. Because it's not guys versus girls, it's still Bass versus Gophers. Lashana is sad to see Beth go to the other team. We still see like the cabin shenanigans and all that, but Courtney's not here yet. Whoops. But yeah, no. As a result, the guys still get the Gopher cabin, the girls still get the Bass cabin. But yeah, Beth and Heather are actually the ones competing against each other at the very end in this case. And the guys don't have Owen. We don't have Owen here, so there's no automatic team win. It's not that easy anymore. So as a result, this is where things end up. And I'm gonna say that the Bass still end up winning. Like, yeah, Lashana is a fierce competitor. She's really good. But Beth is not, she is not stepping down here. She's not. She just isn't. You'd think it was the dolphin food involving DJ and Bridget, which, I mean, that's a pretty decent one. But no, no. Instead, Beth is just determined and actually makes them eat it. Actually, no, looking at all this, they don't have that. They don't have any of the same dynamics here. Oh my goodness. No, the Gophers win. The Gophers win. Shit. Disregard everything I was saying before. The Gopher team wins. Yeah. They have every reason to win. Between Trent still having his issues and all that, these two not eating the dolphins, like they still, like, unfortunately, Heather gets to go to the spa day. Heather still gets the spa. Like, it's still a tough competition, but unfortunately, there's not much of a way to intimidate these two into eating that food. She's a vegetarian and he's a coward. Yeah, it just goes very poorly for who's on the Bass side. So yeah, yeah. Rip to these guys, you know. Oof. But teams are dissolved now. So as a result, one new row. Merge. I'm not even bothering to capitalize it. So teams are dissolved. There's no more Bass. There's no more Gophers. There is only everyone for themselves. And we still get the returning contestants. First and foremost, like, yes, we still get Eva, but Eva is not quite to be brought up yet. Fancy that landing. But no, Eva still comes back. First one coming back is actually Courtney. She's brought back and she is really determined to win now. The reason? Chris says over the PA, yeah, Harold rigged the votes against her when Chef ran that boot camp. She was about to sue us, but we settled it out of court. So we brought her back onto the show for a fair trial. And returning audience favorite, Eva! She was an audience favorite? No, but we liked her. I can't help but laugh at that. Because it would fit. And also, Eva, she's not out for Bridget. Bridget is actually fine now. She's not in danger or anything. Eva saw the footage. She's out for Heather. She's not happy with Heather. Because Eva saw that Heather messed with her MP3 player. But functionally, the episode still plays out the same. DJ, Jeff, Duncan, Trent, Gwen, Lindsay, Bridget, all fail. Beth ends up failing pretty somewhere along the way too, leaving, and even Heather fails eventually because, okay, every because what's happening here is that let's use the Bass tab for that one real quick, because they all eventually go out. The reason it varies, but it's mostly just they can't handle the torture. The reason for Heather going out, though, Beth and Eva teamed up. Like, they ended up teaming up for this instance to keep going at Heather. Heather eventually caves. So, yeah, that's fun. Meaning that Eva ends up in a bit of a triangle situation here, where it's Eva, Lashana, and Courtney still standing. Courtney is determined to win her first competition back. She wants that invincibility because there's been some stink eye from actually no one. Never mind. No one's been giving her stink eye for actually like getting back on the show. They all understand why she's back. But eventually Courtney's self-preservation kicks in and she has to cave for torture, meaning that it's Lashana and Eva at the very end. Lashana wins and Eva ends up being eliminated again. Eva's not happy, but she's not in a straitjacket this time. The only reason Eva is eliminated is because she's a fierce competitor, and she gets a bit aggressive with everyone at some point in the episode because of what's happened. Treasure hunt. So, yeah. Yeah, let's look at the dynamics again real quick. Duncan is forming the guys' alliance one episode early. But we don't have Izzy here this time to eliminate again. So as a result, what happens is Lindsay and Heather end up both losing because they can't find their targets. Courtney wins immunity and becomes winner of the challenge. First winner of the challenge. And the guys' alliance ends up targeting Bridget. So yeah. Sorry, Bridget. You got done over one episode early. As nice as it would have been to keep you around, you got done over, unfortunately. Because not enough of the guys dislike Beth to vote for her. Even Duncan. Actually, looking at it, like, it still ends up mostly the same, just without Heather and Lindsay being stuck like that, but Bridget brings up wanting to vote out Duncan. Gwen does as well. Oh, yeah. There's also the thing that Heather pulls. Heather pulls the one nonsense elimination here, because she pulls it on Trent. And that's how things happen. So Trent does actually get eliminated here, unfortunately. Sorry about that, Trent. The plot demanded it. Hide and seek. The Guys Alliance exists. I'm sorry, Guys Alliance. You guys are 2 members short now. So at elimination, Heather has immunity. Because she still managed to turn someone in. She went after Beth. Lindsay ended up turning in DJ. So Lindsay has immunity, as does Heather. Beth and DJ, they're not really at threat of elimination. Lashana made it to the end of the day. She is also not at threat of elimination. So as a result, we kind of have this little bit of an issue here. Lindsay and Heather are still targeting Beth. they're going to try to get Beth eliminated because it's either Beth, like they're still voting for her, or they're targeting Courtney. Because Courtney is that good of a competitor. She didn't find anyone, but she's still really good. And she still got caught, but nowhere near as bad as what had happened in the past. Bridget brings up she thinks they should eliminate Duncan. He's mean, and she would tell him that to his face. Beth likes the idea. Beth wishes she could eliminate Heather, but ultimately she agrees to align with Bridget on this because of how bad Duncan is. Unfortunately, Bridget got sprayed with a skunk. So all three guys voted for her. Gwen voted for Bridget. Courtney isn't voting for Duncan yet, so she also voted for Bridget. Lashana knows that it's a waste to try to vote for Heather, and she voted for Bridget. These two are still doing their nonsense, hoping that they can get away with it. So Jeff is the only one that didn't really vote for Bridget, and instead he arguably voted for Courtney. Bridget goes home, though. I'm sorry, Bridget. The skunk is a canon event. Bike episode. This one changes a lot because there's no Izzy. Heather still does her nonsense with Lindsay. However, Courtney is also a fierce competitor and actually giving Heather a run for her money because she managed to create a really solid bike. Beth wipes out at some point. Duncan wipes out. DJ wipes out. Gwen wipes out. Lashana, unfortunately, wipes out. And Jeff is also wiped out. Like, some of these are, like, they disqualify because of their bikes not making it, and some of them otherwise still have issues. But ultimately, Lindsay gets done in by Heather again. She loses to Courtney, who happens to be more fierce, and Courtney ends up actually winning the race. Lindsay is the one that ends up losing the race because she's the last one to actually finish. And it's auto elimination. Courtney is not too friendly to give her elimination away. She's not nice enough to do that. And she doesn't really care about the drama. She actively refused to partake in it when the girls all shared one cabin. So as a result, Lindsay goes home. And she cusses up a storm before it. So, like, she still breaks free of that abuse, but at what cost? Horror movie challenge. Courtney ends up still freaking out. Duncan is here. All that good stuff. Duncan and Gwen manage to know their way around the genre. Courtney ends up listening to them because she's not an idiot. Beth ends up getting caught. Lashana gets caught. Jeff is caught. Heather is caught. DJ unfortunately auto-eliminates himself because he runs away before ever seeing the killer. I'm sorry, DJ. It's just that bad. Critter hunting episode. Courtney wins. I'm sorry, but Courtney just ends up winning here. Because she's the one that actually has the hunting skills. Like, between her and Gwen, it is a stiff competition, but Courtney ultimately wins. Heather doesn't catch what she's looking for, so she still has to clean things up. They almost think about eliminating her, but unfortunately, Beth just kind of gets shortballed here. Like, she kind of gets thrown out, I believe. Like, she doesn't have any strong game or anything. Actually, why wasn't Heather eliminated here? That doesn't make sense. everyone here has something against Heather. It would make sense that she's eliminated in this episode. Yeah, Heather's gone. Just plain and simple. She didn't catch anything. No one's here to make anyone else angry like Izzy was. Heather doesn't have plot armor. It ran out early. So as a result, we're on the Tri-Armed Triathlon. The teams are Jeff and Gwen, Courtney and Duncan, and Lashana and Beth. Unfortunately, Beth is the one with the least amount of friends here. So Beth gets eliminated by default because, yeah, Duncan, Courtney, and Gwen are all on positive standing with each other. Lashana and Jeff are on positive standing with each. Like, it's literally just a matter of everyone likes her, but no one is close with her. Beth, unfortunately, gets eliminated in this episode. Up next, the BS elimination. So, normally it's Lashana that gets eliminated. Today it's Jeff. I'm not joking. Jeff is eliminated. Just he's the party guy. Everyone likes him too much. Different characters miss him, and they're like, what happens is Owen in particular brings up Jeff. Unfortunately, Courtney and Gwen, like, the different teams all function at different rates, and they all each win one match. But as a result, what happens is, yeah, Jeff gets eliminated because what happens here is Owen brings up he liked Jeff. Jeff was fun. Katie and Sadie kind of catch on to that because they like Owen, and these three are practically the same font, but different characters. So, like, they all say Jeff. And, yeah, there's a mention of we're trying to eliminate Jeff. Heather thinks she's clever and says, Lashana, let's eliminate her. It does not work. So yeah, Jeff goes home in this episode. Now for the Get Back to Camp challenge. We got two teams. We have Grim and Grimmer. Wait. Yeah, that's basically what they are still. And as well as Prep and Popular. That's actually what they fit as. Shoot. Ultimately though, what happens is Gwen and Duncan lose. They still lose, unfortunately. Duncan does not get sent home, though. Because these two don't vote for him. He doesn't vote for himself. This is the only vote for Duncan. Courtney isn't super fond of Gwen because of how similar she is to Duncan and how they get along very well. And Duncan wants to prove himself to Courtney, so she pressures him into voting for Gwen. Gwen voted for Duncan. Just plain and simple. She voted for either Duncan or Courtney. Probably Courtney, but it could also be Duncan. Whatever the case, Gwen goes home. I'm sorry, Gwen. I like you. But no, that's not where it goes. That's not how it ends up in this case. Triple Dog Dare. Lashana is unfortunately eliminated here. She gets overwhelmed by the entire situation because these two are a couple, and because Courtney didn't get high-strung and controlling, it ends up being Duncan versus Courtney. And as a like Lashana is eliminated fairly here. And look, don't skin me alive for this, Lashana eliminates herself because she refuses to accept the haircut. However, it's before the razor approaches her. Lashana keeps her hair, but she does not take the haircut. All three of these characters clearly treasure their hair. Lashana is unfortunately the one that gets hit with it because she's the one ganged up on, like in canon. And as a result, the finale is Duncan versus Courtney. If you want to know who supports who, I can give you my headcanons on that. I can give you my guesses as to who supports who. Lashana supports Courtney because girls protect girls. Gwen supports Duncan. Jeff is on Duncan's side. Beth ends up supporting Courtney because she's nicer. Heather supports Duncan purely because she hates Lashana that much. DJ supports Duncan. Lindsay supports Courtney. Bridget is siding with Courtney because she doesn't like Duncan in canon. Trent is supporting Duncan. Eva is supporting Courtney because similar girls support girls idea. Harold is conflicted, but he ultimately ends up supporting Courtney because, well, when he's confronted about it, he openly says, "I want to make it up to Courtney. I shouldn't have done that to her. Duncan was the real problem." All that fun stuff. Owen ends up supporting Duncan. Don't need all these rows anymore. Sorry about this taking a while. I have 0 editing ability. At least for the time being on anything substantial. But ultimately, yeah. Tyler is supporting Courtney because he's with Lindsay. They still got close. Cody supports Duncan because he's on the same side as Gwen. Izzy is supporting Duncan because she's with Owen. They still end up getting close during Play of the Losers. That's where they ended up getting close. And that's how we see it. Katie and Sadie still share their brain cell. Unfortunately, Sadie has like 0 presence in the series, which is really sad. But you know. Sadie ends up supporting Courtney alongside Katie because girls support girls and they're not fond of Duncan. Justin supports Duncan because it's, I don't know. Noah doesn't like Justin, so he supports Courtney. And Ezekiel is sexist, so he supports Duncan. There's no big party promised or anything. Like, it's just, like, still the standard events in terms of, like, how it goes. We still see that poor intern kind of bite the dust. Congratulations to the winners who got their character in the show, by the way. Like, congrats to both of you. I'm kind of jealous on my own front. But yeah, Courtney says she'll probably do something fancy with it, like college funds. Duncan says that he's going to use it to pay off his legal fees. Both respectable positions. But ultimately, yeah, this becomes like another 1v1 type of deal. Like, they just end up like that. Yeah, I will be doing Total Drama Action, hopefully sometime soon. This is the best I had for it. I'm sorry that it's a little bit jumbled like normal, but here you go. The characters as they line up. Oh, and yes, oh, and the flood episode didn't end up in elimination because, yeah. Regardless, here it is. There you go. See you around, everyone. I'll be back next time with Total Drama Action. Actually, no. We have Total Drama Island. That still needs to be organized. Because as a result, Total Drama Action is going to have different characters. Because everyone grew in a different way here. Almost everyone. And the lawsuit is going to have a ripple effect. So, see you around.